Hello, everybody. I have just started the recording and welcome to the 21st online eTwinning live event organized by the members of Inclusive Education Group. And I'm very happy to say hello to every one of you here in this maybe a little bit unusual situations we have been all facing for the past 2 months. Also, as you know, this webinar is in a way organized as a part of dedication or of celebration that we mark on the 9th of May as a 70th anniversary of the Schuman Declaration. So you know that on 9th of May we celebrate the Europe Day. I'm very happy to have with me today two speakers from Croatia, Marta Hauser and Tamara Fabac. And before I start and introduce them, I would just like to say hello to everybody who is a member of Inclusive Education Group. And my name is Mariana, and I'm eTwinning Inclusive Education Group moderator. And if you still are not a member, I hope you are going to join after the webinar as well. Ladies, thank you for joining me. I'm very happy you are here because you are going to give us a very interesting and valuable information and resources on spreading volunteering values. Just a quick intro about our presenters. Tamara is a graduate in pedagogy and a program assistant and trainer in the Association for Civil Society Development at SMART. She has been working especially in the field of volunteer center Rijeka, which is a city in Croatia. And she has been running a lot of significant programs of SMART. She's also especially involved in training for volunteer and involving organizations and volunteers. And of course, she participated in activities providing technical assistance and consultations in the field of volunteer management. Marta also works together with Tamara. She is a graduate in psychology and also for the past 10 years has been involved in Association for Civil Society Development called SMART. She's dealing with activities related to promotion of volunteering and brokerage between organizations and citizens interested in volunteering. Also, they are going to give us a lot of interesting insights about how to assist, how to consult and implement quality standards in administrative tasks, information dissemination through social media and websites. One of the projects that they found, also Marta, her activities include the implementation and reporting on various projects funded by the European Union, especially those related, of course, to the volunteering and civil society development. Okay, so I'm not going to say much, just to welcome one more time my presenters, and I'm going to give them the mic. I will mute myself. Tamara and Marta, the mic is yours. I'm going to prepare your presentation now. It's going to take a little bit for it to be shared. Just a moment. And after that, I'm going to mute myself and going to give you the mic.
Okay. Can we start? Okay. First of all, I wanted just to say in my and Marta's name, thank you very much, Mariana, for giving us this opportunity to share our experience and with schools and our experience in the work of volunteering through SMART. Thank you also to all of you who are participating in this webinar. We hope that this webinar will be interesting, inspiring for you, and that you will gain many inspiration and that we will meet your expectations. So hope you will enjoy it. As Mariana said, this webinar was prepared based on school volunteering. As we name it, school, a valuable resource and a crucial actor in spreading volunteering values. Thank you, Mariana, again for giving us a really nice introductory. I will start a really brief introduction about this webinar, but also a little bit about SMART. SMART will this summer celebrate his 21st. It's 21st
anniversary.
21st birthday. So we have really many years behind us, and we will present you just shortly a few activities, huge programs that SMART is dealing with. One of them is the Volunteer Center Rijeka that Mariana already mentioned. Just few points about the support center that is one of the SMART programs. We are basically through few activities that are educating, informing, consulting, dealing with and supporting non-profit organizations, especially civil society organizations in Croatia, but also other non-profits such as public institutions. Between them there are also schools and others such as social care institutions or cultural institutions and so on. We are supporting them in the part especially of non-profit management, so writing project proposals, financing, fundraising, strategic planning, operational planning, and stuff like this. Quality management is also a huge part of this work of a support center, and it's all, of course, based on the non-profit management. As I said, a volunteer center is a very huge program that is going on for 15, I would say, years or something like that. It's similar as a support center, so the basic activities are education, information, or informing and consulting. But here we consult and inform and educate not just volunteer involving organizations, but also citizens who want to volunteer, who show their interest into volunteering. And we are educating and consulting and informing organizations about the quality volunteer management, so how to involve and how to work in a quality way with their volunteers. Another big part of our work is connecting, so connection of organizations that need volunteers with potential volunteers, so citizens who want to volunteer. This is a huge part that we are dealing with. Also, other activities that are really important for us are publishing and researching. We prepared one document, additional resources after this webinar for you. Some of them are in Croatian language, some of them are in English. Most of ours are in Croatian, so those participants who are from Croatia will, I hope, use these publications. They are focused, much of them are focused on quality volunteer management programs, specific tools that you can use. Also, they deal with school volunteering, and also there are materials for pupils, for students who want to volunteer, so they can be used in your teaching. Also, we research attitudes on volunteers, the interest in volunteering, but also the existing practice that organizations have in dealing and in involving in working with volunteers. Networking is a very important part of our work with the Volunteer Center. We are networking not just locally and nationally, but also on the international level. We have many Erasmus Plus projects that were partnered with Romanian organizations, Hungarian organizations, Slovakian organizations, and so on. But what I wanted to mention, the thing that is very important on the national level, as Volunteer Center Rijeka is one of 4 regional volunteer centers. 3 other volunteer centers are stated in Split, Osijek, and Zagreb. Together, we formed a new organization. Previously, it was a non-formal network, but now it is a separate organization. It's called Croatian Volunteer Development Center, and its main aim is to promote also volunteering, but also to let's say capacity building of local volunteer centers, because in Croatia, among 4 regional volunteer centers, we have many local volunteer centers who are very present in their local communities, and it's very important for really having a good infrastructure and really developing volunteering on each level, on local and national. So just a brief introduction in this part. Also, one new thing is that we, before 3 years before, have founded a new organization, a local community foundation called Our Foundation for Local Community Development. Why I'm mentioning that? It's because probably, and our idea is to involve volunteering in this part, especially in programs that will give support for volunteering initiatives and volunteer involving organizations who will also promote volunteering and trying to involve their community into volunteering activities. But for now, we don't have any concrete activities from our foundation. We hope it will be in future soon. So, just a brief overview of the webinar that you are involved in. So when Marta and I were planning this webinar, we thought that at the beginning we should stick a little bit about what is volunteering, and that one of the aim should be to define volunteering as a means of active citizenship, considering especially that we will focus on the formal school system. Also, something that you should be able after this webinar is to explain the rules school can have regarding children and youth volunteering, and even maybe choose one of the rules you will have, especially if you are new to this topic and you don't have so much experience for now. And the last thing is to be able to recognize the possibilities for volunteering in the school and local community. We will show you some examples, and we hope that it will be inspiring for you. The work plan of the webinar will look like this. So we will have a brief introduction to volunteering, also a brief introduction to school volunteering, so the school rules, but also some examples that we encountered during our work with schools, especially during 2 past years that we have really intensively worked with schools. Also, considering that the actual circumstances are really specific, we wanted to put a little bit of emphasis on volunteering during a pandemic. We worked pretty much in this period on this topic, because this specific topic of volunteering in crisis. We will also try to focus a little bit on youth volunteering during a pandemic, because we see youth as a really crucial actor, and children and youth can be really a power in this situation, and can be used, and also they want to be in a way involved in this kind of activities. At the end, we of course we will have open question session and some conclusions. We hope that you will ask us whatever you want, whatever comes to your mind. We can also speak a little bit more about SMART if you will need some another information. But of course, the most focus will be on volunteering, especially school volunteering, considering the focus of the presentation. Now I will give Marta
Thank you, Tamara. Thank you for
this
nice introduction.
to proceed.
I hope all of you can hear me nice. I also have some interference and we apologize for that. Unfortunately, we cannot do anything with your internet connection. Hopefully this will be useful for you, but also we will share the presentation and we also have this useful resources Tamara mentioned. So I think you get the most of your information and you can always contact us if you need more. Thank you again for coming in such large numbers. We were just talking before that this is our first online webinar in English, and I can see now that there is 130 of you, so that's really, really nice. And also, I'm very happy to see people from different countries. We are very involved in international activities, but usually in European Union, usually with some countries, and now I see a broader audience, which is very nice. So, as Tamara already mentioned, I will start with the introduction to volunteering. We will not use Mentimeter. I will ask now Mariana if she could just open the poll here in Adobe, so we can have just a quick overview of what you think about what volunteering actually is. So Mariana just did it. There's a question there, so write down the first thing it comes to your mind when you hear the word school volunteering or just volunteering, whichever you wish. So just the first word comes to your mind, so we can just see a little quick scan of your opinions about volunteering. Please use the poll that Mariana is yeah, I see now answers. Helping. Nice. Kindness, yes. Effort also. Idea, this I very much like, yeah, idea. Free work also, that's like usually it comes to mind, working group of students, which okay. Okay, so Mariana closed the poll. I think we can just comment it briefly. I see a lot of very similar answers, which is always happening in our educations, live educations. Helping, of course, in different variations, helping others, help. That is usually something that we do attach volunteering to. Kindness, and I think I saw empathy and effort, and those are the values that volunteering usually is related to, and the values that that can be spread through school volunteering. We don't just teach kids, or you just don't teach kids. You also give them valuable values that are that can be used in their life. We also see devotion. I saw educating, idea, citizenship. So those are very nice, nice words and nice values that are usually associated to volunteering. The one thing I saw, it's also free work, which is partly true. On this slide, I showed you have two definitions of volunteering, which are used pretty broadly and generally. One is from the United Nations, and the other is from European Commission. I also know that a lot of your countries have their own definitions of volunteering, like Croatia also has. We also have a law on volunteering, so the definition of volunteering is incorporated in the law on volunteering. But most of the definitions using, especially in Europe or European Union, are usually very, very similar. They have very similar, crucial parts are very similar, but also, as we can see, we can say that for the most of the world. So these common things that all of the definitions of what volunteering is, it's very important to remember that it's undertaken of a person's own free will. So each of us have an opportunity to choose when and what activities we would like to do as volunteers. Which kind of maybe beneficiaries or and so on. The other thing that is very important, and that's volunteering, is unpaid. It doesn't mean it's free work, even though it's not unpaid, because through volunteering you can gain a lot of different different things, like new knowledge, new social circle. You can find what you would like to do in your life. Maybe you feel good for doing something that is valuable to you, to community, or to a specific cause you want to be involved in. So it's not just unpaid work. When people are not paid for their work and they are not doing it for their free will, that's not volunteering. That is just somebody not being a good employee and not doing the things they should do. Also, very important part of volunteering is that it's for a non-profit cause. So in Croatia and most, I think maybe the whole Europe, you can volunteer in a non-profit organization. That is usually some kind of non-governmental organization, association, public institutions that Tamara already mentioned. So school is one of them, but you can also volunteer in a museum, in a social institution, like a home for elderly, for example. You can volunteer in your public library. So that's also, I see one comment here that it's good to have volunteers instead of salary workers, but that's not good, and that is actually against the law in most of the countries, either the law on volunteering or the labor law, or both of them. And we can see it also in the presentation, it's not used to substitute or replace paid employment. So if you volunteer in a social institution, for example, or a hospital, you won't be volunteering in a position that usually is paid. So for example, I don't know, a psychologist, a social worker or something, you will probably do things that are just in not that large amount of time, and also not the same activities. So you can play board games, for example, or go for a walk, or read a newspaper to the beneficiaries, or similar stuff. So you have these two volunteering definitions that are on the slide. I won't read them, but the three things that are very important to remember is that volunteering is, it has to be from a person's own free will. It's for a non-profit good cause. It's also unpaid, and it's also aimed at a beneficiary of a non-profit organization. Of course, as Tamara already said, and some of you also wrote it down, like you choose words community, cooperation, and stuff. Volunteering is a very tangible expression of active citizenship, so of participatory democracy, and it is a part of participatory democracy. And we also have this definition of school volunteering here, or a school volunteer program, as we like to call it in Croatia. In Croatia, it is pretty well developed now. In the past, I would say maybe 5-6 years or something. So a lot of elementary and high schools have their own school volunteer programs that are usually led by staff, the school staff. So it's a teacher, pedagogist or psychologist or librarian or other school staff. We also have some examples that the school volunteer program is led by students, by pupils. That is not so common, but of course it can be something to think about. So school volunteering is a form of connecting students and school staff within an institution, educational institution, and it's characterized by structured and continuous involvement of students in voluntary activities. So it can be, some students can involve just once, some of them will have a continuous involvement in, I don't know, some NGO or some activity inside the school. But if we want to call it a school volunteer program, then we have to think about that there is something continuous, so that it doesn't stop on one volunteer activity. Of course, you can do activities inside or outside your educational institution, and Tamara will tell you in a few moments a bit how you can do it as a school and what do we mean about inside or outside voluntary activities. So this is a club. We see it as I don't know, other clubs that you have in your institutions, like you know, the mathematicians or something like, or the journalists or something like that. So school volunteering club is something. It's an activity for students that can be done inside or outside the educational institutions that they are a part of. Volunteering is usually, we see it as a very horizontal activity, not even, it's not, it doesn't have to be connected to school volunteering, but volunteering in general is very horizontal activity because it's connected to different parts of our lives, from social part of our lives to education and learning and solidarity and active citizenship. So it's very, very broad. And we also see it, of course, in schools, that volunteering can be related to different parts of your program. So, of course, it can be related to civic education, which is very obvious. I don't know if your countries have civic education. We in Croatia have it, but it's not as good as it could be. Unfortunately, it usually is not, but it's very important, and volunteering is a part of civic education, as a part of, I don't know, thinking about civic education, but also a way to have it in practice. So you can practice your civic duties, if I may say it like that, through volunteering. Also, volunteering is very much connected to inclusive education. Volunteering is very much inclusive. We try to show it in this way, that everybody can volunteer, even the people that are usually the beneficiaries of volunteering activities. They can volunteer, and in this way can be a part of an active part of a society they are in, because everybody has something they can do as a volunteer and help or makes some activities for others. Of course, in the school setting, volunteering is something that has values that are very much connected to inclusive education. It's from solidarity to including everybody in the society to be active. Something that is very popular now, I think, and it should be more popular, are sustainable development, and also sustainable development goals. You probably know all about it. It's very popular in schools, and of course, volunteering is something that is connected to this education for sustainable development. But also, you can also do a lot of very concrete and very tangible things through volunteer activities that contribute to sustainable development and sustainable um, sustainable development goals. So as I already mentioned, volunteering is a horizontal activity, and it is a tool for active participation in the community and developing a sense of citizens' responsibility, because volunteering is not only about helping. You can volunteer in different kind of activities that are not maybe so connected to the social sector. So you can do stuff in the cultural sector, or in sports, or in some parts that are not only helping somebody that is not that has some kind of problems or obstacles. Volunteering, of course, is building social capital. I think that is very, very valuable, and it's very visible in this pandemic state we're in, because as we saw, the social capital built through volunteering can help us be more successful in overcoming stuff like this crisis like we have now, which is a global crisis. And you probably know, or you were probably involved in different kind of activities to help those who cannot help themselves in this crisis. So to bring them groceries, or to walk their dog, or something like that. And this social capital that is built through volunteering will help us in the future crisis, and I think we'll have a lot of different kind of crises ahead. As I already mentioned, volunteering is also valuable to inclusion of socially excluded groups within society and their empowerment. So not only to become to be the receiver of help, you can give help to others and change your the role you have in your life, and how you feel about your own role in your community, in your society. It's connected to lifelong learning and to developing different kind of competencies, either the soft ones, like communication skills or something like that, but also to very specific ones, where we see, for example, students or from high school or university that volunteered, they have a lot of these skills that are very useful in employment in the job market. So volunteering is actually very useful for a lot of different things, and I know that it's also it can be very useful in school settings when we think about not only educating on facts, but also educating on values, and how to be a valuable part of your own community, of your own society. Yes, Mariana just wrote that we can now cannot volunteer during COVID-19. We can apart online like e-volunteering. That's also true. So for some people that it's not possible to volunteer offline to meet different beneficiaries, different people, you can also do some stuff like e-volunteering, helping for I don't know, for example, fundraising. We had in March, we had an earthquake in Zagreb, and it was pretty strong. And a lot of people were involved in fundraising to help people that lost their homes or had to rebuild their homes, to fundraise money for those people. So this is also, it can be volunteering. But some of us could do some things also by the offline way, the old way. I will talk about it at the end of this presentation. I would like to ask Mariana if we can go to this video. She will ask you she will put you the link in chat if I remember it correctly, and then you can go and see the video. The CD video in YouTube, so we can just just to hear young people telling you why do they volunteer. So yeah, Mariana just put it in chat. So please, if you just click on it, you can see the video of kids telling you what is their motivation to volunteer. What did they gain through volunteering? And I will leave you for 2 minutes and 27 seconds just to see the video. So go to the video link, it's in chat, and you can then watch it on YouTube and come back. I see a lot of you saying thank you. We are not finished, you probably know. This is just a little video intermezzo, so please just stay with us if you're still interested. We'll be here until for an hour, I think.
I think you can continue because most of the people have seen the video. We can.
Thank you.
Okay. I can go on, Marta, right?
Yes, you can.
So thank you for the nice comments we are getting from the video. It's not ours, but we also really enjoy it. It has really nice messages from. It really has nice messages from youth, and we are sure that your students will get inspired by them, and that you can use it also in the classroom, as somebody already mentioned in the chat. Yeah, some of the parts that were very interesting is that some of the students mentioned that volunteering redefines redefines you. So it's a really nice opportunity and it's a really valuable part of our education. It can be a valuable part of our education system. Marta already introduced you with some topics about school volunteering. I will proceed on. So we focused a little bit. We will focus a little bit on school volunteering, specifically on the rules school have. We mentioned already that we have really many years of practice with schools, organizing, promoting, and encouraging volunteering. And these are we can say these are the three main roles that we saw that schools are choosing, are delivering in practice. We can say that some of them are, some of the schools that we have cooperation with choose all three of them. Some of them choose just one, choose just promoting or just encouraging. But it also depends on in which part of the school year you are doing which of the rules. So most of them are starting with promotion and encouragement during the first part of the school year, and then in the middle time and in the at the end of the school year they are organizing activities. We will explain a little bit what does it mean each of these three rules, and also we will give you some examples of schools that really organized different kind of activities. So at the beginning, this rule of school as a promoter of volunteering values, Marta already said, volunteering is connected so much with different kind of values that are promoted also on the European level, but also on the global level. To mention just few of them, even though Marta already mentioned some, there is a really important freedom of choice, freedom of speech, respect for the diversity, empathy, solidarity, and responsibility. We, but not just we as Marta and I, but also school, see that volunteering is a crucial part, can be a crucial tool for promoting this kind of values in the school system, and also through your students. Another aspect of promoting volunteering brings the acquisition of different kind of knowledge and skills that can be promoted in this way to children, to youth. Especially there is civic activism, if we speak about citizenship education. There is a communication with vulnerable social groups, as we mentioned, that volunteering is giving us the opportunity to work, to cooperate with different social groups, with different beneficiaries, with really so much different people around us. And probably if we wouldn't volunteer, then we wouldn't be able to come into this option to work with them, to know a little bit better them and their as a person. Also, through volunteering can be promoted the knowledge and skills about tolerance and community development, but not just these few skills and knowledges that I mentioned. There is also an opportunity to build on organizational and planning skills and different kind of knowledge. It will depend on which activities you will also focus, of course. As part of the school encouragement rule, so if we see a school as an agent of encouraging volunteering, we see two basic activities that school or school volunteer coordinator can do. The one is the information part, so to inform students about the values and opportunities of volunteering for students, so the possibilities in the local community where to volunteer, and also a teacher or a volunteer coordinator, whoever the person who will encourage volunteering in the school, can provide support, especially for those students who show interest, who show motivation and the idea of organizing volunteer activities inside or outside the institution. So these are two basic, let's say, activities that you as a teacher can do. You can inform them and you can provide support if they want to start to make some change, some difference in the school. In this part, we are not yet speaking about organizing, and many schools decide to be just a promoter and just to encourage volunteering, and they usually do it also in the way to call different kind of volunteer involving organizations and different volunteers from the community to present their experience, their initiatives, their motivation, why did they start to volunteer. And in this way, the school has this rule of informing and encouraging students to volunteer. Many times, as we are a volunteer center, many times we are called to do this kind of lessons or let's say workshops or presentations in schools, or school show interest to come to our offices and to see a little bit how it looks to work in a volunteer center and how it looks from the field to gain some kind of valuable information. We prepared a brief overview of a lesson plan that we use for encouraging, for promotion and encouraging volunteering in schools. For few last times we had workshops in elementary school, so it can be usually adapted for secondary schools, and it's basically a baseline workshop, so to speak, for introducing volunteering to children and to youth. As I said already, at the end, when the recorded webinar will be online, there you will find another lesson plans and more lesson plans in Croatian, in English language. So we also have some basic learning outcomes that we define. We expect for children and youth to be able to explain what is volunteering, to list various motives for volunteering, and to recognize volunteering opportunities at school, but also in the community. So to start to think how can they act, and what are the next steps, so to say, for starting volunteering. This kind of lessons are 90 minutes. There is a 90 minutes duration, or it can be 45 minutes. It depends really on how much in depth you want to go with the students. And some basic activities are the introduction to the lesson, so what they can expect from this workshop. And then we are going directly to volunteering, and we have a nice exercise which can be done with smaller or bigger kids. It's about what is volunteering and what is not volunteering. As Marta said and was explaining at the beginning of the webinar, many times we are not sure what is volunteering and what it is not. So this basically group work, with a group work we have few sentences written on the paper. Some of them are of course representing volunteering activities, and some of them are not volunteering activities, but are more some obligations, family obligations, friendship obligations, some other kind of relationships, and work activities that are not volunteering. In this way, we are trying to explain to them, to use these concrete examples to show them what it is not. And during this task, they practically can explain why something is volunteering and why not. So what are the basic criteria, the basic specifics of volunteering in consideration of other kind of activities. After that, we go to the part of why people volunteer. So basically the motivation of real volunteers. One nice thing that we use is our videos of real volunteers, so real persons. We use those videos that are made for awarded volunteers in our region. I didn't mention that, but one of our promotional activities as a volunteer center, we for the past 14 years, we award the best volunteers in our region. Not just volunteers, but also volunteer involving organizations, and for the last 2 years also schools are also awarded with this award. And in this part we use our videos to show the real volunteers who are speaking about their motivation, their inspiration, why did they started, and what did they get from volunteering. And it's always interesting because it's coming from the person that is actually volunteering, and it's for us it's the easiest way to use videos. But some of the schools are calling somebody that they know as a volunteer, a person that volunteers in the community, to come to the school and to present their interest, their experiences, and this can be really nice for children and for youth to see a real example. Maybe even an ex-student of your school, it can be really nice. After that, we present them with the possibilities where they can volunteer. Marta said already that there are many kind of organizations that can volunteer. There are really public schools, civil society organizations, so there are plenty of them. In this part, we mostly present also the experiences from other schools, so they can relate themselves with other students, with other schools, and this is a nice part. Something that I want to mention here is that especially when we do this kind of workshops in elementary school, in Croatia, Marta already mentioned the law. Minors can volunteer, but we have some specifics to safeguard their life, they as children, as not persons under 18 years old. So in this part, if they really show a big interest in volunteering, and if a school doesn't have a school volunteer program, or neither has the resources, persons, staff, teachers, or neither the time to involve in such activities, some of the possibilities are family volunteering, another form of volunteering, which gives a family to the opportunity to volunteer. So maybe this student can volunteer with his grandpa, grandmother, or uncle, or bigger brother or sister, and can involve in activities that he would like or she would like to involve. So this is also something that is open. After that, a really short group work that we do is how to start your volunteering journey. It's basically, and it's really can be done in a great connection with citizenship education, because we we ask them to think about the needs in the society, the problems they encounter, the things they see that didn't work, that don't work, and the place or the option where they can fit, and what what they can do, consider the concrete problem or the need. It can be focused on the school, but also on the neighborhood they are living, or think about the path you are crossing when you are going to school, what you see. So it's a really nice exercise which brings them to think about the community needs and problems they see as part of the community, of course. At the end, we have always some kind of closing with open questions that arises from this workshop, or also some lessons learned. What did they learn from the workshop? We know that teachers nowadays have to know some kind of so much about online stuff and online tools. So probably you heard about Kahoot. We use it like a very easy way to see what did they learn and how did they get the topic. Was it interesting for them, and would they like to start volunteering? So this is really a short presentation of this lesson plan. Now I will proceed with the third role school can have, and it's basically school can be a volunteer involving organization, so can have a school volunteer program, and in this way, as Marta said, have continuous activities which give the possibility to their students to enroll and to involve in volunteering activities. But apart from that, school can prepare or organize activities not just for students, but also for teachers and other school staff, for parents, and also for community volunteers. So you can see that there are different target groups that you can involve. Most of the schools we are working with are basically focused on students because it's the easiest way, and because of the correlation with the curriculum that can be done. So in the way they are giving another extracurricular activity, but also they can in that way connect with a concrete subject. So it's really a nice part, and as I said, most schools are focused on that. But there are also possibilities of involving teachers and other school staff, and also something that is interesting for schools, and that we know that some schools started to do, was the involvement of community volunteers, especially in those activities that are like the prolonged stay in the school of some children that are doing their homework at school and are doing other networking or game activities in the school. And in this part, teachers can involve volunteers to make maybe some kind of workshop that can be an additional part of these activities, and in a way to bring a little bit of more quality or more diversity into the activities of children that are staying a little bit longer in the school. What I wanted to say about volunteer involving the school as a volunteer involving organization is that school can be the one and only who can organize a volunteering activity for whatever of these target groups. But also one other example, one other way of doing it, it can be also the involvement of students into volunteer activities of other organizations, or doing the activities, doing some planning and organizing specific activities in cooperation with school and other institutions or some NGOs some associations. It depends on you. It depends also on the connections a teacher or a volunteer coordinator in the school has in the community. We saw that many teachers, many volunteer coordinators in school are cooperating with different kind of institutions. Some of them are better, some of them are could be better, but one conclusion to which we came is that it's good to cooperate with those institutions that also have the volunteer program already established, that have the volunteer coordinator. So in that way you will be sure as a school teacher, as a volunteer coordinator in the school, that the institution, the organization with which you are cooperating will have the same understanding as you, how much work it is, what are the obligations, that you need to share the tasks between both of you, and that it's an activity that should be done by you and by your partner. Also, the last part, as I mentioned, is the school can choose also not to work just with students or teachers, but also to involve new, different people from the community into school activities. It will depend on you. It will depend especially on your time and on your resources, and also your support of other colleagues in your school. And also it will what I wanted to say is that many schools are, if they are at the beginning, they start with small steps, and I'm sure that Marta and I will agree on that, to start with small steps, and then see how it goes, and then choose if you want to add some other activities. Schools that have already some experience choose to go broader and to involve other volunteers from the community, because it's a little bit different when you are involving other volunteers from the community in the school. It's maybe the easiest way for school to involve just students and to stick on it. As far, we explained the 3 rules and the ways you can involve your students and how you can cooperate with your community. Now we will show you a few examples of volunteer activities who were organized by the school. The school has to plan it, to organize it, to implement it. Everything was on school. We have 2 examples from elementary school. One is from elementary school Omišalj from Kirk Island, and the other one is the elementary school Oton Iveković from Zagreb. On the first picture, I will try to use this green arrow. So the students, members of the school volunteer club, as Marta said, many of the schools have their own volunteer club. Theirs is called Volunteer Angels. They participated in the volunteer activity which aim was to produce 2 tactile books for students with disabilities. Tactile books are books made of fabrics with different shapes, with different materials, and they're mostly used for and prepared for children who are blind or who have other specific disabilities, or children with autism, people with autism or Down syndrome. So it can be a really nice book. It can really be very useful for their motoric development. They decided to make two of these books, one representing animals, different kind of animals, oceans, farms, and etc. And the other one was focused on signs on the road and part of the curriculum that should be passed. And it was the aim of these tactile books to help them in passing these subjects, these topics. So it was a really nice activity. I think that they said that they enrolled between 20 and 30 students who volunteered for 3 months. It was a really hard job, hard volunteering. They had many tasks, but they really did a great job. Of course, they were coordinated by their volunteer coordinator from school and other staff. I think 2 or 3 teachers enrolled also in this activity. So they had children had the support of their teachers, and at the end they decided to have an event, a party, where they presented their books to other students with disabilities. So they had together they had a party, they had a cake, and they really mingled together. So it was really nice. It had the beginning and the end, and the children for whom they prepared the books, they were really excited, and they were really happy. They liked it very much. So we have also the elementary school, Oton Ivekovic, which has also a volunteer group. It's called PIA. It's the acronym for Helpers and Animators. And they have 3 main activities that are going on through the whole school year. One is they help students from the school help in getting ready before leaving the school for younger people and students with physical difficulties, and they accompany in the movement of students during the school stay in the school, through the hall and similar stuff. Also, they have animation through games in the lower grades. So during a breakout, these are 15 to 30 minutes breakouts, student volunteers visit younger students and animate them with the games which encourage their development of social and emotional competences. This is very great example, because the students that are in the higher grade see that they can be adults, let's say adults, that they can have much more obligations, and they can invest their time in an interesting and helpful way. So in this way, we are also teaching them that they can be responsible, and the responsibility is really a big part of their education, not just in learning, but also in being present and being a disposal for others. Another activity that volunteer group PIA is leading is peer learning assistance. This kind of activities is something that almost every year is practically leading, is having in their school, because many students have problems or need help in their homework, or have problems in specific subjects. So it's a really nice way to give an additional support from a peer support from students to students, especially those who are better in one subject or have this motivation to help others. It can be really nice. In Croatia, I'm not sure does it work also in other countries. We had a big problem because many children needed this kind of assistance, but many families paid this kind of assistance, but sometimes families can afford it, so it was a really nice thing for the school to rearrange this kind of assistance from in school and from for school kids. Another two examples that I will show are practically not activities of school, but the school, the activities were organized by other organizations, but the school is cooperating for a long period with the specific organization, or is here to involve their students, as I said, in activities that are at disposal for students from other organizations. The first examples that I will show is a boarding school of Iran. They had a really long-lasting cooperation with the Home for Elderly People in Patia. But one activity that we wanted to mention to you is that students who are volunteering in this boarding school decided to mark the Valentine's Day, and in cooperation with the Home of Elderly, they decided to visit their friends at the home. And the interesting thing is that students that are hairdressers, that are learning for hairdressers and beauticians, arranged a beautification event. It was really nice, and they made a haircut and a makeup for those seniors in the home for elderly. And also they had a music and recitation group of boarding school of Ran, who participated also at this event with their performance. We know that elderly people like to dance, and also they like to look great, to be in a good shape. So this is a way where students, these are students of course from secondary school, can not just help somebody that needs help, but also in this way we see how we can connect learning and volunteering in a really direct way. So this is really a nice example. Also, we have one action that was organized by SMART, so Marta and I and our other colleagues, and also one other organization that is in Rijeka, it's Pariter. It was a volunteer action, Rijeka bez barijera, which means Rijeka without barriers. Sorry. It was an action, an activity organized as part of the national event we have in Croatia. It's called Croatia Volunteers. Marta will speak a little bit about it later. The volunteer action was organized to mark architectural barriers with stickers that we prepared. The main aim was to raise awareness among citizens about the problems of architectural barriers and vehicles who are parked in an appropriate way and are making problems and put problems to pedestrians who can walk normally on the sidewalks. Especially this problem is specific for people with disabilities, especially people in wheelchairs, or mothers with children walking on the street, or also elderly people who need a little bit of space if they have problems with walking. In this way, we decided for this kind of action to involve volunteers, students from different kind of schools. We had a really big number of students coming from 5 schools from Rijeka who participated, and something that was also the aim, but was let's say a hidden agenda, was to raise awareness also among these students. So in this way we practically educated also them. Why is it important? What are these barriers doing for the people who have who encounter this kind of problems. So it's a nice way to teach, to give this kind of, let's say, lessons, but not in a good, in a bad way, but really to explain something and to give the possibility to youth to participate in this kind of activities and to be part of this raising awareness campaign. Okay, these were the examples that we wanted to show. I can say that there are many more examples. Many of our schools are cooperating with the shelters with who are dealing with animals, and children really like that. Children from elementary school really love to engage in this kind of activities. We also have, as Marta said, many students and many schools cooperating with different kinds of sport events, especially if there is a running or cycling or something like this kind of sport events. And we are really see also many schools that are making events, school events, to raise money, to help some other students in the school to make different kind of events, musical events, and other art and crafts events that are really nice to be part of the school and to involve students and teachers, of course, and parents, especially in elementary schools. What I wanted to say is that we came to one question, two questions that we have in this part. One is for those of you who haven't any previous experience in this field. So we wanted to ask you, for those of you who haven't had the possibility of introducing volunteering in your school, in which roles you are most interested in. So is it promoting volunteering? Is it organizing volunteering outside or inside school? Or is it encouraging children and youth to volunteers? Considering that maybe, I suppose, among you there are people who should answer the first question and the second question, I would kindly ask you to, when answering, to put firstly the number of the question, if it refers to you the first question or the second question, and to put all the answers you think are in your interest. So it can be also promoting, but it can be also encouraging children and youth to volunteer. This second question is, of course, for those who have more experience in this field, in which roles you have most experience. So is it in promoting? Is it in organizing outside and inside school volunteering activities, or is it encouraging children and youth? Please put the mark, is it the first question or the second? It will help us to see how much of you have any experience in this field. Okay, I see A and B. Promoting and encouraging. Okay, I see that for now there are those who have interest in doing that, most of you, in promoting especially and encouraging, but also some of you in organizing. And the last two are for those who experienced. Almerindo and Cristina, no, Cristina and Maison said that they have experience in organizing and encouraging and promoting. Some of you have experience in something but don't have experience in promoting, but would like to have. Okay, great. Sorry, when speaking about these rules, I didn't look at the chat. Now I see that there are a few examples you shared with us. Seeing that answers are still coming. Okay, you have some experience in organizing. Pardon me, in encouraging and in promoting, but you would like to have in organizing and okay, it's nice to see that some of you or a great part of you have been in this kind of role. Is it a promoting role? Is it an organizing or an encouraging role? So it's great to see that you already made the first steps, even though you didn't maybe organize any volunteer activities. So great. Hope that these kind of activities that we shared can make would be some inspiration to you. Great. Many of you have experience in promotion.
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay, I will give
Thank you,
the
everybody,
stage
for
to.
participating. I did look at the comments, and I saw that you all have some kind of experience in school volunteering and some ideas. Also, like Tamara said, I'm hopefully this will be also nice for you to just to think a bit more about what is also possible in your community. You shared a lot of ideas about cooperation with different kind of organizations from your community or local community or city or your region. I think that is always a good idea because you just have get a lot of more different ideas, and your students can be involved with different kind of people doing different kind of things, and I think that's also very nice for them. Now I would just like to share a bit about volunteering during a pandemic, since this is very very popular now. I mentioned it when we started that during a pandemic you can do a lot of different kind of things. Of course, volunteering is very important during such crisis like this one, because some people just cannot do things for themselves. They need help from others. We also have some offline volunteering happening, so this is like bringing the groceries to people that cannot go out now in this crisis, or online volunteering possibilities, as we mentioned before. Some organizations adapted their volunteer activities for because of the pandemic. So, for example, we have some partners that are doing teaching help for kids that cannot do it for themselves or pay it for themselves. And now they do it over online, of course, through Zoom or some Skype or something like that. So that's that's actually very not so difficult to organize. Organizations also create new virtual roles so they can meet the pandemic needs. Or maybe some routine needs they have usually in their organization. But what is very important to remember is that when volunteers are volunteering during a crisis, that has to be very well coordinated. You have to be very careful about the safety and health of your volunteers and also the beneficiaries, especially when there is a disease like COVID-19. So that's a very specific, very important thing to remember. Mariana just put, I saw the links and you have it on your presentation. Those are the links, the YAVE, International Association for Volunteer Effort. It has a lot of different webinars that are related to volunteering during a pandemic, but also related to youth volunteering. Because youth, of course, can be involved, even though I see that we usually don't involve young people in this kind of activities. We are very trying to make young people so safe that we don't let them do the things that we actually do. I think that's not always the greatest idea. But we have some example here from Youth Service America, which also did a webinar for YAVE I mentioned before. And Youth Service America has this Global Youth Service Day. So you can see this on this picture that there are a lot of different kind of examples of what kids can do during a pandemic, but also in general. So those things, some of them are offline, some of them are online. And of course, regarding youth, we do have to be careful. We do have to prepare them. We do have to encourage them and make sure that they are safe when doing stuff. We put also some useful resources and some ideas on the slide. I won't read them because it doesn't make sense now. For the end, we have a couple of more minutes, so I would like to ask Mariana again to put maybe this link also. This is a very short video. You can see it's a minute long about our national campaign, national manifestation, Croatia volunteers. It's in, oh yeah, Tamara just put it in chat for everybody to see, so you can go on YouTube and just see it now or maybe after this. It's a very short video. It's in Croatian, but I think you'll get to the point of various volunteer activities that we are doing during this week in May. Obviously, this time we are not doing it in May because of the you know what, and we'll do it probably somewhere in September. So this has been going on for 10 years now. So thank you very much for your cooperation, for coming here, for listening to us. I'm very sorry if you didn't hear us very well, but that's not something that we can fully help with. It's usually correct with your own internet connection. Hopefully this was something that was useful. You have our contacts in the last slide of this presentation, so you can contact us if you wish. And also
Can you
we
hear
encourage
me?
you to
It's
contact
Mariana
your own.
speaking.
Yes, we can. I encourage you also
I
to
have been
contact your own
struggling.
local regional volunteer center. And also I see a lot of thank yous and
I would like just to
compliments.
say thank you one more time to both of you for joining me and for having this wonderful presentation with various ideas. Maybe for some people they have been known, but if participants who are here and would like to get a certificate for being during the webinar, I would like you to fill in this form. Um, Okay, for those if you want a certificate, because the center support service is not issuing them anymore. So as a part of eTwinning Inclusive Education Group, I'm going to create the certificates for those who want them. There have been some questions, ladies. Christina Preduca has posted a question. Can you read it? What is the minimum age of a children that you have to have seen being involved in volunteering? What is the minimum age for volunteering
Yes,
in a
we saw the
child?
question. Thank you, Mariana. The minimum age is usually related to your own legal situation in your countries. We see children as like 5 or 6, 7 years old. It's not a problem, but they are usually involved either with their families or within a school, elementary school, or even kindergarten. They're not doing things on their own, which is logical. In Croatia, you can volunteer on your own when you are 15 years or older. But you have to, from 15 years to 18 years, you have to have permission from your parents. For kids younger than 15, they usually volunteer either with their families or in the in the school setting, within a school. Thank you for your nice comments. Is there any more questions, maybe?
Thank you everybody for joining us. Marta, Tamara, thank you for coming. If there are any questions, I'm going to jot them down. I'm going to take them and we will add them within the Inclusive Education eTwinning group. All the materials and hopefully the successful recording will be there. I also, as I already mentioned, if you wish the certificate, there is link in the chat. And since we have already been here for the 90 minutes and the time was reserved only for 90 minutes, I will have to say goodbye to everybody.
Thank you.
Thank Marta and Tamara one more time. I would also like to thank Marta from Brussels. So we had actually two Marta today, which is rarely happening at the same time. And I can only say thank to all of you for sticking till the end, whether you had a good or bad internet, but I think also the slides were quite easy to follow and a lot of interesting information there. Also, the Smart Association for Civil Society has an English web part, right? It's translated a bit of in Croatian and also in English. So if you want to contact them, you are always welcome to. For all of you, on the 9th of May, one more time, I'm just going to share the link. It is a celebration of the European Day. And just to give you the link, maybe you will find some interesting information here. I think I have pasted it. You can maybe get some ideas for the Europe Day, maybe read some messages and blog posts. There will be also a world online quiz. There will be also a lot of interesting things happening on eTwinning on 10th of May. So follow eTwinning and hope some of you, if you are not still the members of Inclusive Education Group, will join us. Thank you everybody and goodbye for the 21st Inclusive Education webinar and happy European Day. Thank you Marta and Tamara. Bye Marta from Brussels and bye everybody. See you in the next webinar hopefully very soon. Bye bye.